Hello everyone, coming at you with a simple mid-crystal maiden guide. This is something I saw, I think it was Black or SCCC do in a pub game on stream maybe a week or two ago, and it was something I wanted to try out in Theorycraft, and here we are. So let's take a look at Crystal Maiden as a hero real quick, and then we'll get into a game I had. So you'll see Crystal Maiden's primarily played in the safe lane. Typical, bread and butter first support everybody tries to learn. And that's because of her 4 skills that are relatively straightforward. We'll start with the easiest, is her 3rd skill. It's a passive Arcane Aura. Gives everybody on your team mana regen, and she gets over double the benefit as you level it up per level. So this is very nice for her because she has one of the lowest starting intelligence pools in the game. However, her growth is pretty decent. Her armor, her base attack time, her damage, her move speed, her turn rate have been nerfed to the ground over the past few years because she's been such a popular support. And so this Arcane Aura very much helps out with that low int pool and tendency to not build carry items. However, they also help supplement the high mana costs on her other abilities, like her first skill, Crystal Nova. So it's a relatively large circular AoE nuke that does a pretty substantial move speed and attack slow. And you'll see it's got a relatively low cooldown that scales downwards. The mana cost scales up pretty high. The damage is decent, but you usually use that mostly to try and get in a range for your Frostbite. And Frostbite is, I think, one of the secretly top tier disables in the game. So it basically deals 50 damage every half second, or 100 damage per second for 1/2, 2, 2.5, 3, or 1,000 some damage to creeps. So this has made her a little bit of a popular jungle and safe laner, so she can go use her Frostbite on the large creep and then right click the smaller ones or cast a Nova and get rid of them. Or if she's pulling creeps in lane as a support, she can go pull the safe camp, the easy camp, and then when she connects it to the hard camp, she can Frostbite the large one to secure the CS. And then we'll get to our ultimate, that's Freezing Field. So it's a large AoE channel ability that throws icicles onto the ground that do strong move speed and attack slow and do quite a lot of damage. It's one of the highest damaging ultimates in the game if you can keep the channel open the whole time. However, it's kind of an unpredictable AoE. It's large, but it's not consistent, I guess. And now we will get into her talents, which help cover up some of her weaknesses as a support. But since we're trying to play her as a carry, we're going to do things a little bit differently. So you'll see right here we've got at level 10 60 damage or 15 magic resist. More often than not, you're going to take the 60 damage because at level 10 you're typically going to be levels behind as a support, so you're not going to right click for anything. So the 60 damage brings you back into the game in terms of right click. And if you're going mid as Crystal Maiden, you're going to want the 60 damage to really bully your opponent in lane. And you should have a maxed out Frostbite at that point, which will get you 3 or 4 right clicks in with your kind of carry-ish items. You'll be doing 150, so that's quite a good amount of damage. However, the 15 magic resist isn't bad in certain lineups, simply because you have a really low HP, really hard time running away from people if they are casting spells and whatnot on you. And then you're at level 15, you've got the choice between 250 health and 125 cast range. I think pretty much every single time you should take the cast range, because you don't want to have to use Nova to get in range to Frostbite. And ideally you'd want to Frostbite first, then Nova, and then get off a second Frostbite, because if you stack the disables properly, they should always be slowed. And you also don't want to have to build Netherlands on this hero if you're going mid. So we're going to take the 125 cast range. And since you're most likely going to build Aghanims, the 250 health you'll make up for with the Aghanim Scepter purchase. Then at level 20, you have bonus freezing field damage. I believe it's plus 50, and then 120 gold per minute. This one's really up to you if you're playing mid. If you're playing support, I'd almost always recommend the 120 gold per minute. If you're playing mid and you have an Ags already, I'd say you don't need the freezing field damage. And at this point in the game, you're probably team fighting a lot, so you're not going to have the fastest time trying to CS. So the 120 gold per minute might keep you afloat while you're running around team fighting. And then at 25, we have two of the best talents in the game. We have plus 1.5 second Frostbite and plus 300 Crystal Nova damage. So if you add 300 to Crystal Nova, that's a 550 damage nuke, which is insane for a 9-second cooldown. And if you add a 1.5 seconds to the Frostbite, you've got a 4.5 second root on the hero. Now, at this point in the game, if you have something like cooldown reduction, I believe with the Octarine core, you have almost 100% uptime on Frostbite, because the 6 seconds goes down to it's a little bit under 5. So you'll have about I think it's 2/3 of a second of downtime with Frostbite. And so comboing that with Crystal Nova and any other controlling items you might have, that leaves you basically to perma-stun a hero. However, the 300 Nova damage isn't something to be scoffed at. It can be very good for pushing out waves. If their heroes aren't buying BKBs or aren't building tank for some reason, or you're pushing into mega creeps, the 300 damage can be really helpful. All right, let's take a look at an ability build. So a most popular ability build right now is a maxing of the Arcane Aura, followed by a maxing of the Crystal Nova, and then the Frostbite. And you'll see in game I did not even go for this build. I think I went for a little bit more of an even spread with a maxed Frostbite first. Popular items, Tranquil Boots, Glimmer Cape, very popular support items. We know she's squishy to magic damage, so that helps out a lot. And Glimmer Cape also lets you channel your ultimate while invisible, which is very important to get that off. Same with BKB, so you don't get disabled. Force Staff and Blink Dagger for the catch. Aghanim Scepter for the ultimate. Basically casts Frostbite on heroes that stand within your ultimate for a certain amount of time, which is very, very good, as we'll see in the gameplay later. In terms of plus minuses against heroes, one of the heroes she's relatively bad against are Phoenix, Oracle, and Rubik. Rubik for the spell steal and the magic resist aura and the easy stun out of her spells. Oracle can just nuke her down very easily. Earth Spirit has easy silences to stop her, and then she cannot deal with a Phoenix egg at all. It's pretty plain and simple. And the only real advantage here is Troll Warlord, and that's in the early game. She can lock him down with a root and a Q and another root, and you pretty much kill the guy. He's a hero that doesn't really want to have to build BKB. Typically stands and fights a little bit too long, so if you can get a good Nova off, he's dead. And the rest of these are pretty much washout. So we will jump into the game as a mid-crystal maiden. I'll fill you in on some of my item choices. Filling you in on how the draft went. So I first picked Crystal Maiden, telling my team, hey, I want to go mid and try out a new build idea. And they said, sure, why not? Then I got, I believe it was Earthshaker, and then the Slark, Necrophos, and then Weaver, and then I think Omni Knight was their last pick. Then on my team, the last pick was, I believe, was a Baden. Little do I know, I'm the odd man out in a 3-stack, and the other teams, I believe, is a 4-stack. So, anyways, let's get the player's perspective going. We'll get the last hits and denies going. And so here we go. So I've got it going at 1.5 speed just so we can get through this a little bit faster. So you see, you start with a Null Talisman and a Tango. I would normally recommend getting pulled Tangos from your teammates, but playing solo queue, that doesn't always happen. And you get the Null Talisman for the extra last hitting abilities, because as we know, Crystal Maiden has awful damage. And so one of the first things I decided was in this lane is, hey, Necrophos is probably going to get Heartstopper and is probably going to use his Q a lot. Turns out he wasn't the best Necrophos player, but I decided, hey, I'm going to get my Frost Nova so I can not get pushed in as much and attempt to get more last hits, as well as harass him a little bit, because we know Necrophos likes to stand in lane when he uses his pulse right in the middle of the creeps. So it's kind of a double benefit of getting a last hit and harassing him at the same time. As you can see, I took Frostbite level 2. This is just to put an early point in it. Probably should have saved the point in case I wanted Frost Nova, but considering Frost Nova is just a trickle effect, it wasn't a huge deal to me. I was really surprised with how the laning stage went in this game, for how cancerous Necrophos can be in this patch. Surprisingly, I'm kind of keeping up in the CS game for how much of a right-click disparity and sustain disparity I have with that hero. You'll see he goes and collects runes and whatnot, and I'm kind of stuck farming, not quite under tower, but just enough to sort of keep him in check. And sure, I'll tank a few hits here and there, but I have a full set of tangos, so I'm not too worried. I guess I must have lagged for a second there and missed a couple CS, but hey, you do what you can. So I believe I go for a pretty reasonably quick Midas this game, but knowing that Crystal Maiden has really poor move speed and sort of half the battle of Necrophos is not getting caught out in the Ghost Shroud and inevitable level 6 combo with the Reaper Scythe, I decided to get some boots early, even before ferrying out another set of regen. I didn't quite think I needed a bottle, 1, because I'm slow and can't really beat him to the runes, and 2, I can't push out as hard as he can, so I'd be losing a lot of CS. On top of that, you get a good enough mana regen from your passive, as long as you aren't spamming your Q to get every CS. Anyways, we'll see I start faring out now. As per the typical pub route, no one upgrades the Crow quick, so I'm just running back to grab it. And you'll see that Glove of Haste is for a quick Midas. Being typically a support hero, you're normally behind on levels, which sort of balances out your character. However, I think to maximize not only the speed at your farm, but the speed of which you get your Aghanims, as well as that level 60 damage talent, getting Midas is pretty much worth it in every case. You'll see right there, I misclicked a Frostbite on him. It's okay, things like that happen. I got him pretty low there and was thinking about going in, but then I checked my mana pool and realized I didn't have enough to really capitalize on it. getting some harassing, especially if someone's not really paying attention in the creep wave. What you can do with Frostbite is if you have more creeps than them and they know they're going to right-click you, Frostbite them inside your own set of creeps. That way they'll take a few extra right-clicks from the ranged creep or the catapult. And especially being a ranged hero, that's going to do some extra damage because you probably won't have a stout shield. It's a good way to get some extra harassing. It's really important to know sort of your creeps are like another hero this early in the game. So capitalizing on their damage output as well as yours is pretty important. And you're saying, oh man, you're playing really safe. You aren't really going in too much. Look at that. You're down 9 CS, 8 CS. And I'm not too worried. Anything in this point in the game, I'm saying, hey, I'm up on levels on this guy. I'm saying, hey, I haven't died to him yet, which is really the most important thing against Necrophos this patch, is not dying to him. I was genuinely surprised at that. I remember that when I was playing this game. This game was about 2 weeks ago, if I remember correctly, so I'm not going to know every detail off the top of my head. Yeah, getting Illusion Rune to CM probably was just using that for a bait, really, get some harassing. Those things did maybe 3 damage per click, so not quite worth it. You'll see me here aggressively right-click the lane, and that's just because I know he's got Heartstopper and Death Pulse, and I really don't want to get shoved under tower and give him all sorts of room to operate on me. Another great reason to have Frostbite is when he does that inevitable ultimate charge at you, you can kind of stop him under tower. Yeah, I was at this point. I was saying I'm pretty low, got about 20% health, 10% mana. Why not head back? I've got enough mana for a TP. I got to figure out another set of regen just because Heartstopper will wear you down in lane. I see he's got a DD, so I'm thinking about going to another lane because I don't want to fight into that. I was hoping my bottom lane would be getting a kill soon with a Bane and a Sven. But then I saw that the Weaver was 6, so that probably wasn't going to happen. I saw top lane doing some shenanigans, so I was like, alright, I guess I'll head back mid. It's important to be a little bit greedy as a hero that typically doesn't mid. Just because most of the heroes that don't mid already are bad at farming, so you kind of have to make up for your lack of farm speed with staying in XP range and getting all the CS that you can. And thankfully my teammates wait for me to heal with them. They'll see me start using the Frostbite here now that I have a high enough duration and mana regen to farm creeps with it. So a trick that you can do is kind of like what you used to do with other mid heroes from probably about 6 months ago. And that was, what kind of gank was that? I would never have flown in a typical, I guess, competitive match, but hey, a Sven walking in casually, throwing a Stormhammer, follow up Frostbite, and then the Ghost Shroud, of course, makes you take extra magic damage, so I was like, hey, he's stunned, why not drop the ultimate? The ultimate does quite a lot of damage if you can hit level 6 fast enough, and a lot of people, and I think me too, this game didn't level it up to level 2 stage quite fast enough, and that's just because the mana cost, I think, doubles at every level, so it becomes pretty infeasible to do a full rotation of spells right at level 2 ultimate. You'll see here I got the damage talent, so now it's CSing's pretty much a breeze. I'm almost a right-click hero with no base armor and awful move speed. Got a little bit scared right there, but all's well that ends well. So yeah, as I was saying, one of the things you could do is you could go dabble in the jungle a little bit, and by that I mean is if you can push your lane out faster than your opponent. Ooh, that was so close to a kill. If you can push your lane out a little bit harder than your opponent, you can use your frostbite on creeps and take some CS by every wave or so. However, most mids of this patch you aren't going to be able to outpush, so I wouldn't recommend that too much. As you can see there, I did die to the level 6. I guess he had level 2 ultimate at that point. I was a little salty, so I was mad. But I go to my bot lane, I get an easy kill. That guy was basically worth nothing. You can see at this point I've kind of lost the CS game. But I'm more of a fan of getting a rotation like this than I am of sitting in a lane and getting more farm. And as important as killing the mid heroes, I think assisting in a side lane is almost more useful, especially in a pub setting. Just because pubs still spec the mid to rotate relatively early and help the side lanes out, get a kill. So I'm here Invis looking for a kill. Very nice dispel on behalf of the Omni Knight. However, I still get him. I think I died to this Weaver here, though. Yeah. I don't think my Sven had stun up again, which would have been really nice. And I gave a lot of gold to that Weaver. I was a little bit surprised by that. But anyways, you'll see I buy here. I get a casual cloak as well as the XP tome. I know you're thinking, oh man, the mid shouldn't need to buy the XP tome, but I was justifying it by saying, oh man, I'm really close to level 13. I want to hit that before I go back to lane, because that'll give me a maxed out second skill. And I bought the cloak mainly for the Necrophos. I was thinking, okay, you know, with Necrophos, with Dark Pact, with Earthshaker skills, maybe I will go for the invisibility item and get a nice ultimate off. But anyway, I go up to the top lane, try and gank Slark, realize we have no real way of locking him down, so that gank obviously doesn't work. However, this Necrophos is looking quite dead. I sit here channeling my ultimate because I saw an Omni Knight around the corner. I was hoping one might hit him before I go there, but it didn't. And now I think I start going straight for the Aghanims. So 76, I have about as much CS as the Sven, which honestly is pretty good considering I was against a Necrophos in lane. I'm an off-brand mid-hero. He should be able to almost kill me at any point. Now, I believe if you had players of equal skill, the Necrophos should beat out the Crystal Maiden. However, that didn't happen for whatever reason. Two ways complete. I finally level up my ultimate again because I'm thinking, alright, I'm probably going to get the Ags before I get level 3 of my ulti. So I want to make sure I get, I maximize the power of the Aghanims as soon as I get it. Because I'm going to want to get a kill right away. Now, you're probably saying I should help out my team more here. And you'll see a little bit of a misplay. I kind of wasn't paying attention on. I kind of was. I think I probably could have killed him there. If I had probably not turned twice, and maybe reacted a little bit faster, I could have gotten another hit or two of my ultimate off, and that might have been enough to kill him. Let's take a look at the net worth chart. So you'll see, all right, I'm 1,000 net worth ahead of this Necrophos, and that's mainly from the power of the Midas and the power of that triple kill in bottom lane. I think that most people that you can tilt in one pub game, probably the better your team's going to do. Just as a general rule in lower brackets, people's will to play the game can be a little bit low at sometimes. And that kind of started happening to me right here. I was like, all right, my team just dove tower. I felt like we were behind at this point, even though according to the net worth, we're still a little bit ahead. I don't know. I just got this feeling like, all right, we don't have a ton of, like, I don't really trust pub Bane players to lock down the best targets. We don't have a good defusal carrier for any Omni Knight shenanigans. I figured something wonky was going in my off lane, and I guess that was the case. And we don't have a ton of AoE disable. I mean, we have my ultimate, we have my Q, but those are not hard disables by any means. And I was really hoping my team would, you know, if we had like a Tidehunter or maybe an Enigma, something that we could do to either combo with my ultimate better, combo with Sven, or disable this Slark or this Weaver while they're running around invisible and using their purges and shadow dances and whatnot. If I recall, I think we'll lose this game. It's simply due to a lack of, I think a little bit of lack of control, a little bit lack of sit there and man fight these heroes. I kind of started getting mad at my Bane here a little bit. I was thinking, man, he's gone out, I think 2 times, maybe 3 or 4 times now, and trying to either ward or scout or something, but it's like, you know, you can't do that alone. I know wards are important against a team like this, but it's more important not to feed away the lead. I know he's the poorest hero, but you know, you don't want to give Slark any advantage, especially without the coordination of a competitive game. Beautiful Echo Slam. At this point, I didn't realize you with the Shaker had a blink. At least my team got the Necro. I think I get Reaper Scythe maybe like 5 or 6 times after this. And it's just such a frustrating skill to deal with. Because it's like, alright, I'm below, if you're below half HP, he's going to throw it on you. He's going to pulse. He's going to right click. He already right clicks relatively hard for an int hero. If anyone else on his team hits you, you're pretty much dead. And the skill has such a low cooldown with Ags. It's really something I hope might change in the next patch. Change in terms of, I like the idea of the skill, but change its effects, especially the agonism's effect. I'm not exactly sure what they could change it to, but something a little less. I don't know, it doesn't feel like there's a ton of counterplay to his ultimate besides not being low health. And especially with how much damage is going around these days, that's kind of hard to do. Like restorative and defensive supports really aren't that popular these days. I think partly for that reason. I mean, sure, you could pick a Dazzle. that was probably the highlight of this game right there. Didn't quite get the damage on me that I wanted. Maybe if that Necrophos had right-clicked me instead of the Bane, I would have died there. But anyways, so after the Ags, I was like, alright, I'm going to buy a Boots of Travel because my team's fighting a lot, and I want to CS more. And I bought a Staff of Wizardry. I think this was for an Atos, but I don't remember. In the level 20 talent, I did go the 120 gold per minute, which is, I don't know, gold per minute talents are kind of interesting to me. Some of them are really garbage. Like, there's a few that are just like 60 gold per minute at level 10, which I think doesn't pay for itself very often. Like, unless you're really starved and buying every single word for your team, I think you're better off almost in those low cases where it's below, or it's 60 or 90, almost always taking the other talent. Kind of like a patch or two ago when there's a bunch of 15% XP talents. It's like, I don't know if those are actually worth it. But then you have heroes like Tusk that have a 40% XP talent, which is just absurd. It seems like every time I play that hero after I get that talent and I win a fight, I get like 3 levels, which is insane. I was surprised the Necrophos went Radiance. A little bit of a trolley build, I guess, but hey, what can I say? I'm doing a trolley build too. Looks like I built a Force Staff. I think it was just to get in position for these better. And yeah, I was just a really sad ultimate on my part. I don't think I saw the Earthshaker go in when I went in with that Force Staff, but if I had maybe positioned better and sat there, I probably would have at least gotten the Omni Knight, maybe the Weaver too. So it had 3 or 4 second duration on my ultimate. It's a little hard. And I saw the Slark had a Basher, so I'm like, okay, I've got 3 people and cancel my ulti. That makes me incredibly worried, but I don't buy BKB because BKB is a woman's item. And now I know the game is out of our control, I guess. Not just because I'd see a 7k net worth lead and a 10 kill lead and a huge tower advantage, but I don't know, that was a really bad fight to lose. I don't know what's on with the camera positioning. It must be a replay bug. Oh, there we go. I'd be interested to try maybe after a Force Staff or after Ags going Necrobook on this hero. Mostly for the push power and as well as the... Or maybe not Necronomicon versus Octarine Core. I don't know, I feel like Octarine Core right after Ags is a little bit greedy. And I think you need a little bit more utility. But I don't think Necrobook's an awful item after the Ags on this hero. Because you could Frostbite, or you could Frostbite, and then no, not Frostbite first. Maybe you Q first, you Nova, you Frostbite, you pop Necros, and you ulti. So you get 2 guaranteed stuns, and then meanwhile your Necro creeps are hitting them the whole time and draining their health and mana. Maybe that's the idea. I'm not sure. Necronomicon is really in an interesting spot right now. It has such a long cooldown, kind of a gross build-up for most heroes. Most heroes want to build a fighting item. And it seems like a lot of heroes can deal with the Necro minions. You know, level 1, level 2 minions, and it seems like only level 3 is any good. Especially with the True Sight aura. And they give so much gold. So, I don't know, that might be an item I expect to rework or an update soon. Just because it's... I don't remember the last time I've seen a pro build Necronomicon. Seriously. Maybe jokingly or in these FPL games. I like building it a lot, and you know, when I'm playing stupid builds or ability draft or all random or something like that, because people don't push an ability draft usually. I don't know. Interesting idea. So that's kind of the basics of the build. You kind of you kind of want to go, you know, null talisman tangos, maybe double null. Maybe you could throw a veil in there, grab a Midas before 20, then go for Ags. Then it's up to you to get a mobility item, and then maybe Octarine Core is sort of the way this should go. Now see, this Bane is just poorer than dirt. Do we kill the Slark here? I think we don't. Yep. It's important to remember your hero gets directly countered by BKB. I don't think I checked that he had Aegis, so I should have saved my disable. Yep. I gotta buy back here because this game's... If we lose a Rax, this game is pretty much blown out of the water. They have 2 really good... Even 3 really good ways to get out of all of our roots. Which is kind of unusual. Roots got buffed, and they're pretty good. Not a lot of heroes have ways to get out of them, but these 3 definitely do.
Radiant's top tower is getting walloped.
So I'm just hoping for a level 25 talent before this game ends. Nice ultimate, gets a kill, uses 2/3 of my mana pool. Get 1,100, or sorry, 1,108 gold off of that Weaver, which just shows you how far behind we were. How ahead he was, because I don't think we killed him in the last 15 minutes. But we held the Rax, which is great. Especially without a lot of right-click heroes. Holding that Rax is super important. I don't think we can really deal with the Necrophos at this point. I think he's got an Octarine Core. So with the Radiance and all of his skills, he's pretty much unkillable. I was really mad because I thought I was way ahead relative to my team, and I kind of am. 3 levels ahead of the Sven. 3k net worth ahead of him. Everyone else on my team's a really low net worth. I know we're 22k behind, but it's like, come on, you can... Like, I'm just a Crystal Maiden. Like, I'm food for half their heroes. We blow our entire load on the Omni, and their whole team walks in. Totally snuck up on by the Slark. Would have been a great ultimate, but just couldn't get it off long enough. And maybe Maybe I should have bought a BKB just for that, but I just really hate using that item. My BKB usage isn't the best. And I just think it makes the game unfun. Like, I know it's important, but it's like, it's a strength item that doesn't help me with my damage. Sort of keeps me alive. This is the point in the game where it's really important to stay ahead on your hero. If you aren't ahead on mid Crystal Maiden, you're behind, especially in levels, because you're trying to hit that 25 ASAP. And that's kind of the trend with non-meta heroes. So you've got to get ahead somehow, because the meta heroes will have an easier time of coming back. And they'll be able to secure a lead a lot easier. This is pretty much the end of the game. I figured, why not ultimate? Look at that, we almost killed the Necro. I spent AFKs. I despise when people AFK when they know the game's over. It's like, just keep playing. So one time you can feed and not feel bad about it. So. Anyways. That's the gist of Mid Crystal Maiden. You can see that it went pretty well in the early game. But I think it was mostly my team's fault that I didn't carry it out through the end, but I'm not. I can't say I'm an expert at playing Crystal Maiden either. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll try and do more of these in the future. And until next time.